All right, thank you. It's 10 o'clock, and I'd like to call to order the teleconference meeting of the Board of Directors for Friday, February 26, 2021. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, and good morning again, everyone. Starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Fredericks.
Here.
Thank you. Director Garbarino.
Here.
Director Grosboll.
Here.
Director Hernandez. Here. Thank you. Director Hill.
Here.
Director Maston.
Here.
Thank you. Director Rabbit.
Here.
Director Rodoni.
Present.
Thank you. Director Snyder.
Present.
Director Stephanie.
Present.
Thank you. Second Vice President Cochran.
Here.
First Vice President Terrio.
Here.
And President Parr.
Present.
Thank you. You have a quorum. I'm going to
Are you
confirm
ready
staff
to-
on the line.
Thank you.
Yes. Dennis Mulligan.
Present.
Joe Wire.
Yes.
Thank you. Ava Bauer-Furbish.
Present.
Thank you. Madeline Chun.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Steve Miller.
Present. Good morning.
Mona Babauta.
Present.
Tim Swindler.
Present.
Thank you. Kelly Hopper.
Present.
Thank you. And while I was going through the staff roll call, Director Arnold, I believe you joined us as well?
Yes.
Thank you. So you have everyone on the line now.
All right, good. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us this morning, and as usual, we appreciate your continued patience as we continue to conduct our business in this manner. I'll be asking if board members have any comments or questions on agenda items, and if there are, as usual, the secretary will call on you accordingly. And after the discussion, we'll be taking the appropriate roll call vote. As always, if you can remember to mute your phones to reduce the noise on today's call. And each page of the meeting packet is numbered on the bottom right-hand corner, so you can follow along. And Director Maston, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning?
Thank you, President Parr. I'd be pleased to do so. Please follow after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Maston. Madam Secretary, would you please move on to the next item?
Thank you. We're going to move on to public comments for any and all items today on the agenda. And also, if there's items that are not on the agenda, you're welcome to speak at this time. So if you wish to speak on an item, you don't have to wait for the item. Please speak to it now. Justine's on the line to help us moderate our public comment line. So Justine, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our first speaker.
Good morning. Our first speaker today is Kimberly Renee Gamboa. Ms. Gamboa?
All right. And Ms. Bach, before we start, how many people are on the line for public comment?
Certainly, President Parr. We have 5 people on the line for public comment.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead with the full allocation. Good morning, Ms. Gamboa. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kimberly Renee Gamboa, and I'm holding one of my favorite photos of my 18-year-old son, Kyle Emerson Gamboa, and he's smiling from ear to ear in his high school class picture. Kyle jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge on September 20th, 2013 at 11:45 a.m. I want to express my deepest sympathy for the passing of Director Moylan. He was a great man and a champion of the suicide deterrent. I feel fortunate to have known Director Moylan. He will be deeply missed. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Our next speaker this morning is Manuel Gamboa. Mr. Gamboa?
Good morning,
Yes.
Manuel.
Good morning.
Pretty much, I just wanted to echo what my wife said about John. It was a privilege to meet him. I sat next to him at the opening ceremony for the net, and of course, I would have liked to meet him under different circumstances. Other than that, I just want to tell the board members that you guys are doing a great job, and I wish you guys continue the great job on the install of that net and all the other stuff that you have to work with, the buses and the ferries and the parks. And I look forward to when we can hopefully get back together again and meet in person. And with that, I'd just like to say thank you for allowing me to speak, and keep up the good work on the construction of the net.
Thank you, Mr. Gamboa.
Our next speaker this morning is Dave Rohde. Mr. Rohde, please use * to unmute yourself.
President Parr, board members, managers, and staff, good morning. My name is Dave Rohde. I'm with the Climate Reality Project. I hope all of you and your loved ones remain healthy. While you continue to address the impact the pandemic has had on your transit system, I will continue to be your climate conscience. We are at a pivotal moment in history. From now through the next 4 years, we will and we must take bold steps toward clean energy and clean transportation. The Biden administration has made climate action a greater priority than any time in history, and public opinion is nearing a tipping point. While GOP-led climate deniers decried clean energy as the problem behind the Texas power outage last week, the understanding of the rest of the country was that we just witnessed another powerful demonstration of a destabilized climate and another reason why we have no time to waste. In my view, the climate emergency resolution that this board signed in the fall of 2019 means that you also know we have no time to waste, and will do everything possible as quickly as possible to reduce carbon emissions. Every move you make needs to address the emergency. California's stated goal of a 40% reduction in CO2 emissions by 2030 and net zero emissions by 2045 is not enough. Do you honestly think that this timeline reflects an emergency? Your actions or inactions will resonate throughout the Bay Area and the rest of the state. Let me give you an example. If, over the next 10 years, the Golden Gate Bridge District doesn't move to all-electric ferries and buses, but continues to rely on renewable diesel as a half measure, you'll be providing a strong incentive to big oil companies. The Phillips 66 refiner in Rodeo has just announced its plan to become the world's largest producer of renewable diesel. If you continue to use the product, you'll be feeding into their disinformation and lies, and you'll be doing nothing for the environment. I sat in on a webinar with the Phillips 66 project manager recently. I went undercover. He publicly stated that their environmentally friendly product would be made primarily from used cooking oils, and that it would achieve a major reduction in CO2 emissions. Both of these are lies. As I've noted before, tailpipe CO2 emissions from renewable diesel are nearly the same as petroleum diesel, and its feedstock is primarily harvested crops, not used cooking oil. It's been called a bridge fuel. Let's acknowledge that we've crossed that bridge and it's time to pay the toll. If you continue to support the lies from big oil and the halfway measures of biofuels, you are not treating climate as an emergency. But let me end with two very positive outcomes from prioritizing climate. By acting now, you'll be stabilizing your current workforce, and you'll be expanding opportunities for clean energy jobs. Climate action and climate justice go hand in hand. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Rohde.
Our next speaker is a Golden Gate Transit ally. Please use * to unmute yourself and speak.
Yes, good morning. I would like to say first that I'd like to invite particularly the Board of Directors and the San Francisco designation to attend to the fact that there has been a continued violation of rules of procedure by your Board of Directors. It was mentioned by the Vice President in November that there would be a special meeting I was not cognizant that there is, but I was cognizant that last December I called in and there were many drivers the line was split and they were prevented from calling in. So I'd like to have an examination. If 5 people are on the line for public comment, what has been done now to split the right of freedom of expression and freedom of speech of your drivers? So I'm calling again in the commitment to a renewed board of directors and with the vested interest and the best interest of all for the removal of President Barbara Pahe, who's also serving on the Sonoma Marin Railway, Chair of Sonoma Marin Railway, also serving on the Golden Gate Board, David Rabbit, Patricia Gabarino, similarly, and Judy Arnold. And Judy Arnold, in terms of your being a board of supervisor and your remark, given the Ken Casey investigation, that you would not return monies in a Ponzi scam that were derived and consequential to your constituents, I find appalling. I'd like to remind you all that the bridge of your company is the dedicated drivers, the amazing group of individuals who represent your company every day, and it should be your privilege to acknowledge them, to assure their rights, and to protect them under law, which I don't see is happening. So I'm calling for that removal because conflict of interest cannot perpetuate without participation. And when those board members are removed, then the tyranny from the tower ends, and there can be an opportunity for your employees to give hours to dedicate to their work and serve as the bridge to us passengers and to the community. Then they can do just that in their exemplary way without having to fear layoffs, without having to fear reprisals, without having to feel as though the company itself is not vested in the protection of their lives, their livelihoods, and their rights. So I'd like to invite a call and put this on the agenda and invite someone to second the motion. In so doing, I am asking for the removal and calling for the removal of those 4 board members for a renewed board of directors with the best interests of all. There has been some very unscrupulous behavior through this past year. The board of directors has not behaved exemplary. That is only diminishing to yourself. But the drivers have served loyally, faithfully, and fully exposed. I don't even know what the count now is as to how many drivers are affected by the COVID. I know one has died consequently. Thank you so
Ma'am,
much.
your 3 minutes are up. Would you please wind up your comments?
Yes, I thank you so very much. I'm calling
All right, I'm
for
sorry.
a motion and seconding the asking to have this seconded to put on the agenda, and I'd like some review as to who is being precluded from calling in to second that motion today, as was done on December. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is John Holden. Mr. Holden?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, I guess we're not taking public comment on special item 10A as the previous president would allow. So I need to talk fast. I'd like to first say a few things about Director John Moylan. Thank you for many years of service on the bridge. I knew him in passing in labor circles in San Francisco. Mr. Moylan was not only an advocate for the bridge, but his Irish community, sister city, Cork, the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and the contribution of Irish citizens to the building of San Francisco and the building of the bridge. February 17th, 1937, which happens to be my mother's birthday, was the day that 10 workers, scaffolding broke loose, fell through the net. Most of those were of Irish descent. I would hope that the bridge maybe next year could do a plaque. Maybe they have done a plaque somewhere up there on the toll plaza, but to honor the ultimate sacrifice and building of the bridge. So thank you, Mr. Moylan. Rest in peace for that. I'd also like to give a shout out to Mr. David Herrera, our Secretary Treasurer, ATU 1575. He's celebrating 20 years today. Mr. Herrera does a lot of things to help the district and getting things done, and he's a tremendous asset to the district. Moving on to 10A. So My previous employment, I worked for San Francisco Garbage Company. Before it was Golden Gate Disposal, the Sunset Scavenger, and then it morphed to NorCal Waste Systems. They changed the name after the San Jose bribery scandal into Recology. So I work with Mr. Giusti, who's been indicted for $1 million bribery scandal for the Public Works Director, Mohammed Nuru. Mr. Sangiacomo just resigned, and the Corporate Controller, Vice President, Mr. Quebec, this is not public knowledge, committed suicide after investigation with the FBI. The point of all that is I'm very skeptical when waste executives interject themselves into public boards and public entities, such as Mrs. Gabarino. I work with a relative of Mrs. Gabarino, Fiore Gabarino. So I think there is a conflict of interest here in regards to the smart train running behind her business, and also President Parr from Napa, which the smart train does not go anywhere near. My belief is that to rail out the garbage needs to go that way to the main line, and using public dollars to advocate for a private business is not good. I mean, I just read an article in the IJ. They're going to subsidize $300 per person
Mr. Holden,
per
your
passenger.
time.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much. I oppose those appointments.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
President Parr, I'd like to poll the room for a few additional speakers if you're amenable to that.
All right.
Good morning. Is there anybody else who's joined our line since we started who would like to speak this morning? Please use ** to unmute yourself to speak. And I'd like to remind you that we are taking comments for any and all items on the agenda under public comment this morning.
Shane Weinstein.
Thank you, Shane. Is there anybody else who would like to speak this morning?
Robert Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. Anybody else this morning? Okay, thank you very much. Please hold on for one moment. Our next speaker this morning will be Shane Weinstein. Shane, are you
Hello?
there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm going to make this very short and sweet, which everybody probably isn't used to, but we wanted to say thank you to John Moylan for all of his service, not only to the Golden Gate Bridge, but to the labor community as a whole. He was a working man since the very beginning. We certainly respect his service, and we wish the best for his family. And that's all I have to say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shane.
Our next speaker is Robert Kaufman. Mr. Kaufman?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my name is Robert Kaufman, a bus driver, Golden Gate Bridge. And I got on the call late, so from hearing what John had said, it sounded like that maybe one of the items was off the table. But I just wanted to say, I just wish that you would honor the voice of Sonoma County in terms of the situation of appointing Brian Sobel to the pension board. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman.
President Parr, we have no other speakers this morning.
All right, thank you very much. This concludes the public comments to the board. Madam Secretary, would you please continue on to the next item on the agenda?
Certainly. Item number 5 is to approve the consent calendar, including approval of the minutes from the committee and board meetings in January, as well as ratification of previous actions by the Auditor Controller. The consent calendar is located on pages 5 to 36 of your packet.
Before we take our vote, are there any questions from board members on the consent calendar? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please do a roll call vote? Oh, first of all, I need a motion on the item.
Thank you.
Patty, so moved.
All right.
Second.
Can I have a second? All right. Now, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item number 5 with the first from Director Garbarino and the second from Director Rabbit, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosball.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Well, it's
Director Rabbit.
It's guided. That.
Sorry about that. Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. Would you please introduce the next item?
The next item is item 6A, the report of the General Manager, and the staff report found on page 37. Dennis is here to present his report. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you, Amarette. Good morning, Madam President, members of the board, members of the public. I will highlight a couple items that are in my written report and expand upon them. To start with, our world is upside down. We're struggling to keep the wheels on the bus for district operations. Bridge traffic and bus and ferry ridership have been decimated for 11 months now. And the practical reality is we will not see a return of our customers until there's a broad reopening of society, which will only occur when we enter that post-pandemic world when vaccinations are widespread and COVID-19 infections are rare. In order to be part of the solution to achieving that as soon as possible, a couple weeks ago, the Bridge District reached out and offered to Marin County the use of our Larkspur Ferry Terminal as a mass vaccination site. We offered it at no cost. We're thrilled that they took us up on the offer. We've had the pleasure of working with their very talented staff from OES, which includes fire and police staff, law enforcement staff, as well as health and human services staff, as well as their contractor Curative. Acting as the general manager, I entered into an agreement to use the site among Marin County Curative and us. And the site opened on Sunday, last Sunday, the 21st. And I want to give a shout out to all of our staff that brought it to fruition, made it happen virtually overnight, and those that are working there daily. To set up the site, kudos to Jim Swindler, our ferry manager, and Colette Martinez of his staff, and all the hardworking men and women of labor at Ferry. Kudos to Steve Miller, our bridge manager, Willie Gibson and Antoine Davenport from Streets and Grounds, and Del West and all the great electricians we have here at the bridge. It was a true team effort. If you drive by the site, as you drive in, there's barricades that prevent you from turning left down each aisle. Those barricades all say Golden Gate Bridge. There's hundreds of cones up there, many of which say GGB. So we brought resources to bear that we have that were not otherwise being utilized. We have a warehouse space that our ferry staff cleared out overnight. Our electricians rewired it. And so today there are multiple medical grade refrigeration units, including a ultra low temperature unit for the Pfizer vaccine that are on site. Paperwork's been filed, so we will become a direct recipient of vaccines on our site, which will greatly simplify work for Marin County staff. I can't thank enough all those that participate in that. On a daily basis, we have staff assisting Marin County and Curative in the operation of the site. We're not doing checking in for people because we don't want our staff to deal with medical information, and we're not doing the administering of vaccines. However, we have staff, bus and ferry staff, whose regular job duties and schedules have been impacted by the pandemic, assisting in traffic control in the parking lot and other related activities, and it's greatly appreciated by Marin County and Curative. While it's up and running, and there's always issues as you scale up. Yesterday they did 700 doses of vaccine. Their goal is to get up to 2,000, and they can easily do it with the site as currently configured. The site is open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., and we're just thrilled to be part of it. There are 13 stations for drive-through vaccinations, plus there's a site where the ADA parking was, where people that choose to ride their bike, choose to walk to the site, or choose to take paratransit to the site, can get vaccinated. They don't have to be in a car. We want to provide options for everybody. And the Bridge District, in partnership with Marin Transit and SMART, is offering free transit trips on vaccination days to people. They just have to show the operator a copy of their vaccination registration. So we're really thrilled to be part of this, and I want to give a shout out to our team because this was literally stood up overnight, and it's a great benefit to the community. With respect to maintaining operations, on January 27th, MTC met and they allocated the first tranche of federal CRISA money, as they now call it. You recall that we had issued layoff notices that we were able to rescind when then President Trump signed into law on December 27th an omnibus spending bill. The coronavirus relief is referred to as CRISA money. And MTC on January 27th made an allocation to 5 operators who were suffering, who had layoffs or on the cusp of layoffs. And so we received $20.3 million. That money we received will allow us to make payroll through April. So our deficit for the current fiscal year will now be $21 million with the receipt of that money. So we're grateful for that money, but it only gets us through April. At its March meeting, MTC will allocate the remainder of the $802 money of CRISA funds among all 27 Bay Area transit operators, including the district. If this MTC action prioritizes assisting transit agencies in meeting payroll and covering operating expenses, then we should receive sufficient funding to avoid the prospect of layoffs at least through 2021 and much further. However, there is much work to be done to achieve this objective, and I cannot overstate the importance of this effort. MTC has sent us their most recent version. We've had several versions of a draft allocation among all transit operators in the Bay Area, and we are communicating with them. We have another meeting at noon today, but we're very concerned. There is no equity across agencies with the proposed allocations, especially no equity across agencies with respect to avoiding layoffs of transit workers. Some agencies would receive money that would allow them to operate for relatively short periods of time before they reach a fiscal cliff, while other agencies wouldn't see that fiscal cliff for well over a year. And we don't think that's equitable and fair. So staff is ardently and passionately focused on this activity. We understand the board's direction, and staff may be reaching out to a few of you who, based on your positions in the community, may be able to provide leverage at the appropriate time to assist us in this endeavor. But I wanted to make you aware of that. We'll find out how much we get at the end of March, and it's of the highest importance to all of us. With respect to other COVID-19 issues, traffic continues to be down. The week of February 7th, bridge traffic was down more than 30%. Bus ridership was down about 85%. Ferry ridership was down about 97%. So getting everyone vaccinated and getting sufficient federal funds to carry us through to the post-pandemic world, when folks are vaccinated and they're going to ball games again, theaters and concerts, going to restaurants with friends, and going to work in tall buildings again in downtown San Francisco is vital. Other things going on. I do have one item where I need you to vote on something. I need you to ratify an action I took. You may recall that our ferry boat, the MS San Francisco, ran into the district's ferry berth in the San Francisco Ferry Building Promenade about a little over 2 years ago, and we've been cleaning up the issue ever since. And the last piece is that the port promenade was damaged, and initially the thoughts from the port and the district was that the port would effect their own repairs and we would reimburse them, since there's no dispute that we caused the accident. However, more recently, they asked if we could do it. We have a contractor out there doing repairs to our facilities, so the cost of mobilization is saved, and there's other benefits of it. So we had our engineering consultant prepare an independent estimate. We negotiated with the contractor, and Ava's team negotiated a price below our estimate. And so I will need you, when I conclude my report, to take an action to vote to ratify a change order with Power Engineering for repair of the San Francisco Port's promenade in the amount of $393,881. But I'll talk about a couple other things first before I ask you to do that. The district has rolled out on-site testing of our employees. We started that at the beginning of January, and as of last week, we had administered over 1,200 COVID tests to our employees. I list in my report for all of you the vacancies to highlight that we are trying to conserve cash, to not fill vacancies until such time as we come out the other side of the pandemic. In a fiscal crisis, cash is king. So we're doing all we can to make the federal funds we receive last as long as possible. One bit of good news is on Wednesday, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission voted to allocate some additional money to our suicide barrier project. You may recall that last August, our Chief Engineering Officer, Ms. Ava Bauer-Furbush, briefed the board that because of the contractor's delay, our staff and our consultant team will be on site or at the fabrication facilities several years longer than contemplated in the original budget. So we have a need to adjust that budget in the magnitude of $23 million. The Bridge District is going back to our funding partners. And on Wednesday, MTC voted to contribute 1/3 of that cost increase, $7.9 million. And so I'm pleased to share that good news with you. And I want to thank MTC staff and the commission for their unanimous vote that occurred on Wednesday. Moving on to retirements and recognitions. We had one bus operator, Damon Davis, retire on February 1st after 23 years and 3 months of service. He was an incredibly positive, upbeat, and pleasant individual to deal with. I dare say he's a fantastic employee. Other employees' recognitions, many of you know that we have a streets and grounds crew of laborers that does lots of work on the bridge. One of those, some of that crew also was involved in the gardens. And I want to acknowledge and present a 25-year service award to John Barch. He's a senior chief laborer for the Bridge Division. And John most famously designed the planting that was installed for the suicide deterrent system event to commemorate the start of construction. You may recall that there's a planting there with the suicide prevention emblem, and that the VIP speakers and all the family members who had lost a loved one to the bridge put in place small plants, as well as board members that closed and completed that planting. And so I want to recognize John for his 25 years of service, but also give him a shout out and credit for that incredible creative and beautiful piece of artwork constructed with landscaping. We also have a 25-year service award to Paul Rashinsky. He's a bus operator. He's been with us for 20 years, and we're pleased that he joined us on February 9th, 20 years ago. We also have a series of 20-year awards. Kimiko Joseph is one of the more pleasant employees you will ever meet. She's a bus operator that joined us in that same class. Some of you may have crossed paths with her and had the pleasure of meeting with her. She's someone that goes to great efforts to build camaraderie with the group and to organize social events. We also have someone that was previously mentioned, David Herrera, celebrating his 20 years with the district. David used to drive a bus that I took sometimes. He's currently, though, a union leader, and we're very appreciative of all that he's done for the district. Then we also have another 20-year service award to a bus operator, Ms. Paula Whiterock. And then that brings us to the Employee of the Month. After reviewing nominations, the Employee of the Month committee, which is a committee made up of employees, not managers, they selected Sally Davison, a relatively new hire to the district. She's a human resources analyst, to be the Employee of the Month for February 2021. While she's new with the district, she jumped into a rather Herculean task. We are transitioning our employees from their existing medical plans to CalPERS medical plans. There's a huge volume of work. We have a team of staff working on it, but as a new employee, she jumped in as an experienced team member and was instrumental in helping us do that. She's been with us just over a year. So we look forward to the day when we can all get together again. So when we do these recognitions, they're in the boardroom in front of you, and you can meet these great employees that we have for their recognitions. And with that, it concludes my report, and I respectfully ask that you ratify the change order that I mentioned to Powers Engineering to repair the promenade at the Port of San Francisco. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mulligan. We have a lot of bus drivers with service awards. It's always interesting to see who's in which bus class, in which induction class, right? All right, so we need to ratify the emergency action of the general manager to approve the change order with Power Engineering related to the San Francisco Ferry Terminal facilities and the MS San Francisco Ferry. Are there any questions from directors on this ratification? All right, hearing none. All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Secretary will conduct a roll call vote.
Thank you. We're voting under the item for General Manager's report. We're ratifying his action. And I have a first from Director Snyder and a second from Director Arnold. Starting with Director Arnold again.
Aye.
Aye. Director Frederick.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Grosboll.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Yeah. Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Tirio.
Yes.
And President Barr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Are there any other questions related to the General Manager's report? If not, Madam Secretary, would you please introduce the next item?
The next item is 6B, and that's a report of the attorney. The staff report is found on page 51 of your packet, and on the line, Madeline Chun is here to present this report. Ms. Chun, go ahead.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, you have the written report of the attorney, and then at the conclusion of the board meeting, we would suggest that we convene in closed session for the items that are noted there. And we estimate that that'll probably take at least half an hour for the briefing.
All right, thank you.
And I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right. Are there any questions from board members at this time? All right, Madam Secretary, would you please introduce the next item?
The next item is item 6C, which is the report of the chief engineer. And that report can be found on page 51 of your building and operating committee packet. And Ava Bauer-Furbish is here to present that report. Ms. Furbish, go ahead.
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, my written report is before you, and I would like to take just a few minutes to brief you on the status of the suicide deterrent project. Last Tuesday, district staff met with the suicide deterrent advocates and presented the status of the project. I would like to take this opportunity to again repeat district staff great appreciation for all the support we're getting from advocates. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to people in my engineering department. I would like to take also a few moments to repeat what we presented to the group last Tuesday, and specifically the progress of manufacturing of the suicide deterrent. I'm pleased to say that all 369 net supports have been fabricated. Also, as you know, we have a wind retrofit that is part of the construction. All the elements of the wind retrofit have been fabricated, and also we reached 70% completion of the fabrication of the net, which means that 270,000 square feet of 385 total are already fabricated. Also, 61,000 have been already delivered to the contractor's storage area in the Richmond yard. If you have a chance to cross the bridge or be at our vista points near the bridge, you may notice that in addition to work access platforms on the suspension bridge, the contractor installed extensive work access system on the north approach viaduct on both sides. It's a little different system that what they're using on the suspension bridge. Is we call it a suspended scaffolding, and it's full length on both sides right now. So this is what the contractor plans to use for the installation of the net system on the north approach viaduct. As of now, we have 230 net support brackets installed on both sides of the suspension bridge. The areas that are still outstanding, the few of those support brackets next to the concrete pylons at the south and north end of the suspension bridge, and also those brackets on the main towers. Also, because of the work access system in place on the north approach viaduct, the contractor is progressing with installation of the net supports on this structure as well. So I believe we have 8 or 9 net supports already in place on the west side of the viaduct. And I also would like you to be aware that in the upcoming months, the contractor will increase their presence on the suspension bridge, its east sidewalk. So we will work closely with the bridge forces to make sure, and especially with the sergeant's office, to make sure that all of this takes place in an orderly way. Most of the work will be done at night. For example, this is the time the contractor will be bringing the steel elements that they have to install on the bridge and rig those elements over the bridge railing. But during daytime, the construction workers will have to use the east sidewalk to access work platforms that they'll be using to install the traveler rails. So those new walk platforms will be erected on the east side of the bridge truss, somewhat below the sidewalk level, and these platforms will be attached to the top court. Also, in the upcoming weeks, the engineering will be meeting with the contractor to discuss a work plan for the installation of the net. The contractor plans to begin this installation sometime in fall this year, but because this is quite an elaborate work plan and quite first time done operation, we want to make sure that we spend enough time for proper planning. So with this, I'll be happy to answer any question you may have for me.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer-Furbish. Are there any questions related to the Chief Engineer's report? Hearing none, thank you again. And Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the agenda?
We're going to move on to item 8 since there's no other reports under item 7. Item 8A is the report of the Building and Operating Committee meeting from yesterday, Thursday, February 25th, and the summary of recommendations can be found on page 55.
Thank you. Chair Tirio, would you please begin your committee's report?
Thank you, Madam President. The Building and Operating Committee met yesterday at considerable length and recommends the board authorize agenda item number 8A1 to approve contract change order number 31 to contract number 2016B01 Golden Gate Bridge Physical Suicide Deterrent System and Wind Retrofit Project, the amount of $1,132,331 for modifications to the suspension bridge suicide deterrent system end net panel configuration, as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there questions from board members on this item? If none, Madam Secretary, would you please do a roll call vote?
Thank you. This is a vote on item 8A1 with a first from Vice Chair Tirio and a second from Director Frederick. Starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Aye. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosval.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Tirio.
Yes.
and President Barr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Chair Terrio, would you please continue your report?
Thank you, Madam President. Building and Operating Committee recommends that the board authorize agenda item number 8A2 to execute the third amendment to Professional Services Agreement number 2018-B075, Golden Gate Bridge Physical Suicide Deterrent Net System Fabrication Shop Inspection Services with David Engineering, LLC, Chicago, Illinois, in an amount not to exceed $163,000 for continuation of the Suicide Deterrent Net System Fabrication Inspection Services through December 2021 to establish a 10% contingency in the amount of $16,000 and to authorize an increase in the amount of $179,000 in the fiscal year 2021 Bridge Division capital budget for project number 1526 for a revised total budget of $196,432,868 as detailed in the staff report and as concurred with by the Finance Auditing Committee, and I so move.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from board members on this item? It's not surprising that there aren't any. All of the B&O items were very well vetted yesterday at the committee, and the committee was well attended. So hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We have a first and a second from Directors Terrio and Cochran, respectively, and I'll start with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Aye. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio.
Yes.
And President Barr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Chair Terrio, would you please continue your report?
Yes, Madam President. Our Building and Operating Committee recommends that the board authorize board agenda item number 8A3 to award professional services agreement number 2020-B053 Bridge Inspection Services to HDR Engineering Incorporated, Walnut Creek, California, in an amount not to exceed $9,063,000, perform 2 cycles of the 23 CFR 650 mandated bridge inspections at the Golden Gate Bridge, and to establish a 10% contingency in the amount of $906,300 as detailed in the staff report, and I again so move.
All right, I have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, please conduct a roll call vote.
Thank you. We have a first from First Vice President Terrio and a second from Director Fredericks on item 8A3, and just starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Aye. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio.
Yes.
And President Barr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Chair Terrio, would you please continue your report?
Yes, Madam President. The committee recommends that the board authorize agenda item number 8A4 to authorize the general manager to execute the third amendment to the professional services agreement with Avtech, Inc. relative to contract number 2016-D34, support for Avtech console system for a 3-year extension of the term effective April 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2024, with options exercisable by the district for 2 additional one-year terms for a total cost of $200,940 for the 5-year period as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8A4 with a first from First Vice President Theriault and a second from Director Frederick, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Frederick.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosval.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes 14-0.
Thank you. Chair Theriault, do you have anything further to report?
Madam President, I believe that's enough.
Thank you, Chair Theriault. Madam Secretary, please continue with the next item on the agenda.
Item number 8B is the report of the Finance Auditing Committee meeting of Thursday, February 25th. And that summary of recommendations for this meeting can be found on page 57 of your packet.
Thank you. Chair Rabbit, would you please begin your committee's report to the board?
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Auditing Committee met yesterday and is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B1 to approve renewal of the district's marine insurance program as detailed in the staff report relative to the district's protection and indemnity exposures, hull and machinery exposure, vessel pollution exposures, marine general liability exposures, as well as the excess marine general liability insurance program for a renewal package totaling $900,523, effective February 28, 2021, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion on the item. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B1 with a first from Director Rabbit and a second from Second Vice President Cochran, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Aye. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosval.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Chair Rabbit, would you please continue with your report? That item is adopted.
Thank you. The Finance Auditing Committee is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B2 to approve award of contract 2020 MD-051, operations and maintenance of Ventec ticket vending machines to Ventec Transit of Petaluma in the amount of $3,110,436 for a base term of 5 years with 2 additional one-year option terms to be exercised at the district's discretion, and establish a contract contingency in the amount of $311,044 to make programming adjustments based on actual service needs and or to address any additional unexpected items that may be encountered as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B2 with a first from Director Rabbit and a second from Director Fredericks, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Chair Rabbit, would you please continue with your report?
Yes, I will. The Finance Auditing Committee is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B3 to receive the Independent Auditor's Single Audit Report for the year ending June 30th, 2020, as submitted by Edie Bailey, LLP, as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you.
I'll
I have a
second.
motion. Second. Thank you for the second. Are there any questions from board members on this item? Madam Secretary, would you please do a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B3 with a first from Director Rabbit and a second from Second Vice President Cochran, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The item is adopted. And again, yesterday, the Finance Auditing Committee was very well attended, which may indicate why board members don't have a lot of questions today. Chair Rabbit, would you please continue your report?
Yes, Madam President. The Finance Auditing Committee is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B4 to approve renewal of the annual delegation of investment management authority to the Auditor Controller for fiscal year 21-22 as per Rule 11, Investment Policy, Section E, Delegation of Authority, of the Rules of the Board, and as provided for in the California Government Code Section 53607, and approve an amendment to Rule 11, Investment Policy, of the Rules of the Board as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion on the item. May I have a second?
I second the
May I
item,
have
Madam
a-
President.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B4 with a first from Director Rabbit and second from Director Hernandez, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll.
I don't recall saying yes so many times. Yes.
You're not
You
finished.
still have a few more to go. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Chair Rabbit, do you have anything further to report?
Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the next item on the agenda?
Item number 8C is the report of the Rules, Policy, and Industrial Relations Committee from this morning, February 26th. The summary recommendation for this meeting can be found on page 59 of your packet.
Thank you. Chair Arnold, would you please begin your committee's report to the board?
Yes. This is to authorize the general manager or his designee to authorize execution of the Fourth Amendment in a total not to exceed amount $60,000 to the software and service master agreement with Tango Health, Inc. Relative to Best Interest, BI, number 2016D17, Affordable Care Act and Benefits Administration Technology and Service Solution, as required by the Affordable Care Act, ACA, for the 2020 reporting period as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second the item, Madam President.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from the board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting now on item 8C1 with a first from Director Arnold and a second from Director Hill, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Frederick.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion unanimously passes.
Thank you. Chair Arnold, do you have anything further to report?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please continue with the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item 10 since there's no addresses to the board under item number 9. And item 10A is to ratify appointments by the board president to represent the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District on other boards. This report can be found on page 61 of your packet.
Thank you. May I have a motion to appoint Gerald Cochran, Alice Fredericks, and Michael Theriault to the Amalgamated Transit Health and Welfare Trust and Retirement Board for the term of February 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2023, and Patricia Garbarino and myself, Barbara Parr, to the Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit District Board for the term of February 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2020.
Moved by Rabbit.
All right, may I have a second? I assume one of those will be a second then. Before we take the vote, are there any questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
It was a little muddled. I have a first from Director Rabbit. Can I have the second? Please state their name.
Maston.
Oh.
There we go.
Second.
It's like playing Family Feud sometimes. Thank you. So we have a first from Director Rabbit and a second from Director Maston, starting with Director Arnold.
Are there questions on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Starting with Director Arnold again.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the next item on the agenda?
Item number 10B is the possible discussion of possible action to terminate the suspension of board procedural rules and policies for COVID-related emergency actions. And Mr. Mulligan's brief staff report is on page 63, and he's available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. This is something that we put on the agenda every month. Thank you. Are there any board members who have a question for Mr. Mulligan on this item? Hearing none, it appears that we should not be terminating the suspension of the board procedural rules, but I do need and policies, but I do need a motion to revisit this matter at the next regular board meeting on March 26th.
Madam President, I move to continue this matter to special business at the next board meeting on March 26th. Director Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Trio. May I have a
I'll
second?
second that. Second. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? If not, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We have a first for First Vice President Theriault and a second by Second Vice President Cochran, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosval.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Mastin.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The motion passes. Before we move on to item 11, unfinished business, which will be Attorney Chung's closed session report, I want to thank everyone again for your patience during this meeting. We're getting pretty good at this. We will be placing the public on hold and we'll reconnect the call after the closed session discussion. Mrs. Chung, please take the closed session and we'll have a pause while we connect the public line.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, as permitted by the Brown Act and as also noted on the agenda for today's board meeting, we have two matters to discuss with the board in closed session. The first being existing litigation regarding Saliani versus the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District, and the second regarding a public employee performance evaluation and conference with the labor negotiator pertaining to the 5 officers of the district as noted on the agenda, as I mentioned. So we will now convene in closed session, the time being 11:08.
Thank you.
We're back in open session.
Very good. We are back in open session at 11:43. And the Board of Directors convened in closed session as permitted by the Brown Act in order to receive a report on existing litigation in the matter of Saliani versus Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District, providing instructions to legal counsel regarding further proceedings in that matter. The board also convened in closed session in order to receive a report on the performance evaluation of the district's officers, and there is no specific action to be taken at this time, although President Parr, if there's some additional comments that would be appropriate to note for the record, now is the time to do so.
I do. Thank you very much. I'd like to add something just in the spirit of transparency. This has been a very challenging year for everyone, everywhere. Every business, government entity, family, individual, and that includes our 5 officers. And our 5 officers are the general manager, the auditor controller, the chief engineer, the secretary of the district, and our legal counsel. They performed so very well under extraordinary pressure and very difficult circumstances. But I really think it's important for the public to know that although our officers performed very well, the district is not in a position to offer them any pay increase. Thank you for letting me say that. I felt that it was important that the public know that. So now we've reached item number 13 is communications. If you'd like a copy of the actual communication, please contact the district secretary's office. We're also at the end of the agenda, and there are no more items to be presented to the board. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. We'll have a motion to adjourn the meeting and then a second, and then we'll have a number of people whose memories we are adjourning the meeting in today. So may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved, Madam President.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, hearing no objections, we'll be adjourning today's meeting in the memory of friends, colleagues, employees, and community members. First and foremost, we are saddened to adjourn in the memory of our colleague, John Moylan, who passed away on February 4th. It's hard to find words to pay tribute to this remarkable man. I think we all agree. The board would like to thank him for his service and invaluable contribution in all areas of the district's governance. I think we speak for all of the current and former directors who worked with John when I say it was a privilege to serve with him on the board. He attained Director Emeritus status on our board this June. He would have served 25 years of service on our board. He also served as board president from 2007 to 2008 and served on many standing and advisory committees. We're all sincerely appreciative to John for his unwavering support, compassion, and advocacy for the Golden Gate Bridge District, and thank his family for allowing a few district representatives to join the family's private mass. I believe that Directors Gabarino, Hernandez, Hill, and perhaps Rabbit were in attendance at the mass for John. Would any of you like to say a few words, or if I didn't catch that one of the other ones of you were there?
This is Patty. I would be happy to mention something. I was extremely touched by the invitation that the family gave to all of us to attend that wonderful mass. It was clearly evident, and I think everyone would agree that attended, that he had a profound love and respect for the bridge, all of its staff, for the tremendous job that everyone does in making transit happen in a graceful manner. And it was an honor to have been there, to have been with Amoret and out there on the front of the church and see the horse guards and the motorcycle. It has a special name, I can't remember it now, but escort, and all of the police officers who were there, and to see the love of his family as well, probably most importantly. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to say a few words?
Yeah, Madam President, Director Rabbit.
Yes.
I admit to having an affinity for John for all the reasons that we all did, of course, but I think also because of some shared background. I know Dennis is in the same category. John left Ireland in 1949, the same year my own mother and father did, and he arrived in San Francisco in 1951, again, the same year my own parents did. And I knew John before joining the bridge about 10 years ago. As an architect, I designed an addition or a remodel, I can't remember which, quite frankly, of his home probably a few decades ago. I think what's true is that John epitomizes seeking and living out the American dream. He left his homeland, is bravely leaving his home country as the oldest son after a few daughters. He left everything he knew in order to be in a country with broader opportunities for success, not only for himself, but I think for future generations. And I think that's really what, if you knew John, that's what I think he was all about. And the truth is he succeeded. Not only did he succeed, he flourished in that. I think it was through hard work, through fair play, which I think was demonstrated by his work with the labor groups, with a steely resolve, and I think through his own faith and certainly through the love of his family. As my dad would say, and I think as John would agree, he had a good run, but he made such a mark that he's going to be missed by so many, and it was an honor to be at his memorial service, to see his family again, and to send the condolences of not only our themselves personally, but the district as a whole. Thank you, Madam President.
That was beautiful. Anyone else?
You know, this is Dick. I wasn't able to attend in person, but I was able to watch most of it on a Zoom, my first Zoom memorial service, but it was quite touching. And those comments the directors just made were beautiful, and thank you for that. But anyway, John was a great San Franciscan, and we will miss him.
And he was a great Irishman. As you were talking, I was thinking, you know, John's heart is back in Ireland. He never really left Ireland. His body left Ireland, but his heart was still there. So they got him back.
Madam President, this is Director Hernandez.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Thank you. A lot of wonderful comments today for a wonderful man and who touched so many of us in so many different ways. I feel especially, I feel special in that I got to ride with him to the Bridge District for meetings for a period there when he became unable to drive, and those were short trips, about 20-25 minutes, but each of them filled with interesting stories about his political life, about his life back home in Ireland, about when the beets go in and when the turnips go in, and how much he loved the land and the horses and his dog. And so I feel very lucky to have been able to experience those times with him, and he'll be missed. Thank you.
Yes. Director Hill, did I hear your voice?
Yes. I attended the funeral, and I stayed outside. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I stayed outside because I've been isolated for this whole year because of respiratory diseases and stuff like that. But I had a chance to talk to the mortuary group who knew him. Also, that was kind of a strange thing. I happen to know Mike from there, and we talked a little bit. But most importantly, I had an opportunity to get to know him through Director Hernandez. Occasionally, she gave me a ride along with John after a meeting, particularly when I had ruined my arm and had to walk. And I got to know him, and he invited me inside. What a great man, all the way to the end. I was so impressed with him. And I want to also thank Director Hernandez for carrying me along, because I got a chance to meet him firsthand, even though I had the least amount of time of anybody with him. That just thank you. He will always be missed.
Yes.
Director Maston?
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. Regretfully, I wasn't able to attend the service, and unfortunately, I only knew John for a couple of years. But every time we would talk outside of the meetings, it was always very informative, usually quite humorous, and I look forward to learning more from him and spending more time on the board with him. And I'm sorry for that. And as everyone has said, he will be missed. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on, please. Thank you for that. We love John. It was clear for lots of different reasons. So in addition to John's loss, on January 22nd, we lost former Sonoma County Director James Harbison. Some of you may have had the pleasure of meeting Jim at previous district functions. He contributed to matters pertaining to the district from 1985 to 1999, but most notably, the relay races, which took place in both of the counties, in both of the countries of the United States and Japan, commemorating the opening of the Seto-Ashido Bridge in recognition of the sister bridge relationship. Jim served as president of our board from 1993 to 94 and always kept his southern, courteous manner. Another loss we're recognizing today is the passing of Thomas G. For over 2 decades, Mr. G worked in the district's engineering department as a consulting engineer leading the design of the Golden Gate Bridge seismic retrofit with the goal of protecting the bridge against devastating forces of a large earthquake. He masterminded many ingenious, one-of-a-kind key design elements of the retrofit. Mr. G's engineering work is now part of our iconic bridge, extending its ability to serve the traveling public for decades to come. He will be greatly missed. Another passing to note is Lawrence Ferrangetti, poet and proprietor of the iconic City Lights booksellers and publishers in San Francisco's North Beach neighborhood. He was there since 1953. One fitting tribute noted that he had been instrumental in democratizing American literature. Other adjournments today include Carlisle Lindsay, brother of Chief House Painter Roger Lindsay, and Gary Rubin, friend and clerk of the board, Patsy Walla. Please join me in a moment of silence in remembrance and tribute. This concludes the meeting of the Board of Directors. The time is 11:56, and again, thank you.